Greetings, welcome. Let's start uh, today's discussion, and let's go back to where we left last time. And your translation copy should be on the page 36. Let me see the two. 长不的，Okay. All right. So we talked about last time and the drawbacks of cyclic existence, and we covered the first. There's 6 different drawbacks. And then we covered the first one, and now today let's start with the second one. So second one is the disadvantage of dissatisfaction. The disadvantage of dissatisfaction. The friendly letter says, each individual has drunk more milk than the 4 great oceans, yet in the ordinary person's continuum cyclic existence, there is still more to be drawn. The point can be taken from this. The same text says, understand attachment to objects of desire as being like a leper seeking for comfort when tormented by mongols. He hits by the fire, but find no relief. The condensed perfection of Wisdom Sutra says, obtaining everything you desire and consuming much on a daily basis, yet still to be dissatisfied, is the greatest disease. So there is no satisfaction in sensual pleasure. And if you think especially about what is taught in the sutra on avoiding sorrow, you will feel great concern. It says, the water in the ocean bears no comparison with the molten copper you have drunk again and again in hell. The mountain of filth you have eaten when you were born as a pig or dog would be much greater than Meryl, the king of mountains. As a vessel for all the tears you have shed when parted from friends and relatives in cyclic existence, the ocean would not be big enough. If all the heads cut off in the course of mature conflicts were to be piled up, the heap would reach beyond the realm of Brahma. Born many times as a finished womb, the amount of earth and dawn you have eaten would fill the great ocean of milk right up to the brim. So, as explained, however much worldly wealth you acquire, it is nothing but subduction. You should feel apprehensive thinking of how the sum could happen to you if you do not make a further effort. In the words of the spiritual friend Shampuwa, from the first you must face so many ups and downs here in cyclic existence, but nothing worthwhile. Think about this until you are concerned. 那就是从这个了。我对嘛，懂的呢。Yeah. Okay. Let's continue. Read the third backgrounds. The disadvantage of having to discard your body over and over again. The bodies assembled by each sentient beings have to be discarded. If their bones did not rot, they would be greater than Mountain Meru. The friendly letter says, the heap of each sentient being's bones would equal or even be greater than Mountain Meru.
당고디 단주니에 가와서 시고 단주니에 가와서 딱 리드 배자 첨부 임바든지 르마지 시고 때 삼도지 당 때문에 당내 지금도 배주다 요거 당나 때 배준 두면도 삼도지 당 아때 이와텔라 팀 요거 배주 요거 당 마토 때 배주 당 마토지나 끝까지는 지금도 배 맞다 버렸지 끝까지 처음 맞다 버렸지 근데 때자 남친님의 처왕의 남친님의 시고 때 내원이 삼도 당 등원이 대바리면도 상다. 어다 되는 이와텔라 아니 시송나 가라는 거는 시송나 다 기와 아주 기와가 시키고 기와가 시험도 기와가 시험때 린디 시고 리담 배우는 거래지. 린비세다 간다치 용 거래지. 좋아디용나 어다 그런 거 삼부 zambu 등 심 zambu 그전에 샴냥질라 소바들이 곰진이 질라 판도지나 딘디오 링레스 그 조바 zambu 수고라용나 딘디오 세델라 데키용아 세시마남스 데키용 거래지. 링amba kana jangwa lingamba de chono samba ngamba chi mila chi nasmo nosum go ni tedi chi ne ani chi oda nobisum chi pachola marwa chi nasim ji go ni pacho no chkwala so ba tedi go ani chi samba ngambe kendi langai na sendela chono lingos dela te drama cha yong gore sishima namse ti jo ti yong asu la ki gre oda shi go ta ti re tang mar sam tang ro limdi se te tedi dem du sendela tedi chi na tedi 되어디 디디 소화등 아주 원선도 용구도 용구만 어체들라 용구요는 다 겨시마도 요나다 때 용할 때 아주 리들이 마나 어다 리드 쳐마사워스 리드 쳐마사워스 할 때까지는 저런 리드 진짜 제잖아 또 저런 그냥 료도 용나 싹 두고를 싹 맡으면 용목으로 반응나 가와 뭐 소나 체들라 마면은 세시마시마시마 남스 면 그래서 어때 꼬르칭 아주 체들라 강을 뭐 붙여야 돼 겨왕 마서 빌리게 나면 좀 벌써 꼬르칭 체들라 상비 체들라 용구 그치시마 때 오데스니 일단 리딩 남치고 어떻게 거기 상로동 리세트 때리지레면 이것도만 단단히 교와시마스 교와시마도 정도 단단히 교와시마도 때 통마면 받는 기회를 교회자다 안에 지금 년도 기회에 뒤또 무시당하러 소바지 쳐도 상기오게나 바상정만 잠수고 치기래 아니 다케는 지금 세지지는 된 것도 때리지 것도 또 교주 통해를 봤다는 최종된 상기나 이것도 때리지 상기오레스 대자다 대비가 아니 지금 딴 직든들 nhiệm 삼종도 아니 코로이 크로아세야 되나 땅아도 개완들 렌차는데 개완들 간다지 아주 직든들 개완이다 개완들 레당 용모 개완스 레서 레랑가 레도 뭐 레도 간다지 않아서 레도 담보가로 완전 시청보지 지가 근데 땅사 보지 좀 때라 때니 아니 차당 기모스 너는 소소 샘 노창동 셰동세 yetta mawa chik de la drendu ji samba tang te mewa zo do samlu chila shedang se ko chakpa se yata yetta cha kong shik de so so rang ni la thomna sabi thomdu ge samlu chila chakwa so ra tingi kene lang de ane chi ha sho dai na dordo nye na thomdu te de ane chi running the cover chi tani nyarang chadang ga ong ga ne chi de cover mang chi ong so chakpe ong ga sepa do chong do chakang ga ane ta set de yang ti so la sam to yang te sam do na te no jing de de beng da kyo shi ma te si kyo de ne ong penas quand shi la chakpa ke na ti chi che de le sa da ane le sa ne ti kom shi to kom bi to ti ga ne shi so na nam shi ta lam song kyo shi ma nam shi te 라면 버티 쪽으로 참조로 그래서 이나다 겨와요. 근데 거와네 이 그만 번 거지. 딱 거지가네 스파키니 티몬 거 겨와ले 마토한테 레이팅 레그 토끼 에너지 안송한도 겨와서 근데 딱 건들 녀와메 빠져. 뒤차다 남친 이메일 저 초항에 진짜 남친 이메일에 뜻이시고 아니 단조 돈치와 돈치비 달라데 리튼 델라테니 왜 그런 거 냠는지 토와는 델라테니 셔브 용지 성치 셈라서 막 프로듀스 버트가서 리튼 델라테 정탑 그래 뜻이고 답변나 도중 통부체 통부지 더 고급지 거래 고급도 저로 쇼라이나 다데 잡zo 맞나 고급도 쇼 그래 그 리드 같이 지그로 그래 좋아지 시송나 가래 뭐 겨시마이 거래 겨시마는 리드가 나주죠 어떠시고 진짜다 땅 아주 니와메 빠르지 아니 저땅 아주 직팅 감들라 지금 아주 서로와 데드 그 서로마 아주 연구요 이 가르치 연구를 아니 아주 때 저때 입도 매바에서 연구를 여튼 가래 매송을 쪼라 입때매 봐. 네라롱 입때매 봐. 롱쪼라 입때매 봐. 톱 고살라 입때매 봐. 그래서 그러고. 네 쪼라 입때매 대랑 년지 쪼고 있는 상임 자차로 연구를. 대랑 자치니 그게는 양지만 년차로 연구를 되게 좀 소미 묘와요 말이지. 근데 롱쪼라 묘와요 말 대랑 지체 보이쇼잖아 상임까지 용 다시 보는 요 착성 연구를. 안 뒤쪽에 와서. 애네 같이 권위라 니와요 말 같이 그 천양적 통보치를 권위 청부치네 지금 약급 그 언제 된지 더해야 돼 끝까지는 지금 이제 뭐 정강로도 무슨 통지 봐 된지다 될랑이와요 말이지 어떤 세랑이와 리랑이와 쪼랑이와 농주랑이와 된지 그래서 근데 레다 이나 알아서 뺐대 먹겠지네 때를 촉심이 왔지 뺐대 어떤 데 원래처럼 알아서 농주 터와대 가려서나 알아서 지금 리들라 좋아가 소든지다 리드 네오에 네튼 조조 아주 깔리 망고 작업을 자 김진 가르치 작업을 아주 기부 용하고 작업을 기부다 네오 용하 기부 네오 간다 용을 기부 네오 또 리더와 리스미오다 리셈 셈기 받은 리디와나 다들 디키리 오늘 진짜 대충만 됐대 또 용사가 쳇었더니 깔리 잡는 리드 배출 땅 삼로도 드르드르지네 미 가시고 배 대삼전에 리드 대기 용하다 셈기부 용하다 다 무코랑래 삼데 무코랑 그 삼다나 무코랑 사사사 되지만 무때 농점아 도지 시루는 망고요라 이나 꼬르치게 탑 교진스 고수 배추 땅고한테 소소문에랑 소소랑라 펜토와잖아 펜토와 소소 배추 쳔들라 데키 용 치시마 데키 용 근데 진이 짜탑고요다 또탑 키오래다 리튼데 배추 땅인데 소소 리튼데 돈에 들라 남수주 리튼 남수도 이 배추 땅에 라진 탐질라 펜토체 낭미나 데키 땅다 바네 시디 땅다 바 라진 타마도 공용 또 샤이조나 도중 전에 배치 야르클 소나 껴팅게 어떻게 진이 마체트 지 조라동 초등원에 땅에 펜토와를 배주 땅고요 고르치 데페 로버 땅에 배주 사상의 상주다 배 라마다 나송다 된지니 아니 저마 춤추든 소소 마치 제마치란 타마페 종칸도나 데비 용고 된자다때 소 가르치 노르코르즈나 소소 삼로 땅땅가 남쇼 키니 삼로 땅땅 모르고 잣대 지고 따때 만으로 지고래 저땅 안에 직든데는 초시 된 거래 초시 맞대네 해놓고 대가 이거 말했어 나도 니와요 말했어 아니 지금 책 미전 지금 일단 내리지가 땅 당송세 밀라 남이요 말했어 초시 때 맞고 초시 때 또는 너 초시 때만 놀지 초시 때 또는 그런 거책 강점 지금 어떤 당송 일단 당송은 되게 런그 띵이 네스 배주 당토하면서 때 비전라다 배주 당때 배주 바 쫓기요 된사다 되게 상무다 너도 놀시는 딜라파 야지 마치 거라자는 셔나다 조마서 농당 식도 아주 멋지게 냠시 용하네 뒤 상로 당에나 소소 멋지 딜라 세들라 소소로니 그 당라 배주 당니 배주 당 토와이나 다 펜토와 당 원래전 또 마토다 다 대지 쉐기도 다 반실로 받은 게 나바도 한지를 세트다. 어떻게 쉐기도 어떻게 쉐기도 어떻게 이거는 스트레스 네 또서 소소로 나는 거 같아요. 아주 소문 그래도 티터 시청도 와인 원통 요모 중앙에 노르디나 드시고 TV도 삼로 땅에 TV도 대지 년주도 삼로 땅에 대지 제 말에 저 삼로 센트마 시청도 와지네 센터 홀로 냠총 창네 어떤 건지 정리 디디가 총도거나 TV도 센마 한국에 들어서 맞지 TV도 시송한테 말들 전부지 쇼지가 담발에 섬네 근데 이제는 통통지와 동 디디가 삼로 용구나 근데 말다 어때 원통 용어 총알에서 TV도 다 하고서만 하고도 양지 삼로통 이때 샘라 길지 땅에 샘도 호마 공부 친구들이나 공부 총을 왔다 노숙 친구들은 노숙 총도 원통 용어 총알에서 뒤돌아 파양 삼동이나 노숙 님그 사서 저동 님그 주선나 님그 영정 삼나 디 님그 하고는 아주 같이나 데라 전도지기로 어떻지나 전도지나 예를 비단 양총 냠총을 때 마도 아주 디쇼텔라 파세로 담네 약고이 봐서 인진지 띠때 맞더니 약주부지나 고 똑치르치르 됐잖아 데 남바이 하고 남바이도 띠잖아 디 녹송들이 영상 동토에 한동 요래고 다 드시고 또 노동도 드렸어
All right. Well, let's take a moment to reflect what we have discussed in the previous few occasions. And in summary, we know so the essence of this topic in this time is about the mind training, or the training of our mind. So when you think about it, that is what we are and focus on, and then there's two things, and we have to think about it, or challenge ourselves to think about it. First of all, and so are we listening and the topic or the essence of the teaching, the advice and being given from this text well, and are we practicing what we have heard so far, we learned from this conversation? So we have to ask this question ourselves. And the reason we need to do this reflection, or ask ourselves, and that's sort of doing this kind of self-examination, is because, like in Bodhicharyavatara, the Shantideva's a commentary, like he said, by reading the subscription, and it would not address or cure the disease. So now, when we look at this from take this advice from our own individual person's experience point of view, our current life experience point of view. And we have to say that so we have heard a lot, just like we have already received the subscription and for the medication. But if we keep read that subscription issued by the doctor, if we do not do anything, take no further action, then of course we will remain and be sick, or our disease will not be cured. So therefore, it is important for us to make the reflection and to review what we have learned so far. first of all, in this session and in this time and of this discussion, we have began our conversation by study the status of our current human rebirth, or the conditions of our human reality, human life, the reality of a human life. So we reached the point through the discussions and conversations that we have received a form of a body which is technically in Buddhism called a precious human rebirth. And this precious human rebirth is very difficult to obtain, but very easy to lose. So therefore, and we needed to turn our action and our attention inwardly towards ourselves, see whether we do have received such a precious body or not. So if you say, yes, I indeed, the form of a human body which I received in this present lifetime, and to match the qualities and qualities and pleasures, advantages, and qualities that have been discussed or taught, introduced in this text. So then, meaning that I do have obtained freedom and leisures and opportunity, the special opportunity and the great freedom to appreciate it and the life. Then the next question is we have to honestly ask ourselves is, are we using our precious human rebirth well or not, right? So we must ask ourselves, am I take full advantages of this precious human rebirth, and then or not? So your question or self-examination, and it should give you an honest answer. And then you need to go on and move on. If you are doing well, meaning you are fully taking advantages of the precious human rebirth that you receive it, that's great. And if not, then you need to reflect again. So by thinking what cost you not to take the full advantages of a precious human rebirth that you received. So in the case of you are so convincing that you indeed recognize that you do have received a precious human rebirth, that endowed with 8 leisure and 10 opportunities, and then the next reflection is you have to make is that although I do have obtained precious human rebirth, but this human rebirth is easily can be vanished, meaning that because death is uncertain. I know I will certainly die, but when I'm going to die, there's no certainty. So, other than yes, so when you find that this is for sure, you have no question about this. This is the case, and then like we talked earlier and in the previous occasion, then you must think, okay, after my death, or after I am passing from this world, then what happened? From a Buddhist point of view, or from the most world religious point of view, of course, then you have to deal with the reality of a life after. So that means that the next lifetime, the experiences of the next lifetime. So the experiences of next lifetime, or the qualities of the next lifetime experience is depend upon the actions or karma that you have accumulated, the deeds that you have acted or you completed in this lifetime. This takes you to reflect the important point of law of cause and effect. So law of the cause and effect is the determining factor of your life experience here on Earth now, and also your life experiences and after the death. This means that if you do follow the law of cause and effect and practice the teachings such as loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom, and then you not only can enjoy the life better here on Earth, and you also will appreciate life after the death or in the next lifetime. By contrast, if you experiencing or committed all kinds of moral vice, and for example at the mental level, and if you keep sort of experiencing the covetousness or greediness, which is of course is a desire, a strong desire, attachment, and aversion or hatred, the agitations, anger, and you also at the mental level you sort of firmly or reinforce your misperception regarding the law of causality and think there's you appreciate or sort of believe some form of nihilism at the mental level. So if you did practice in such a thing, like covetousness and aversion and the wrong view, and the result of your this lifetime, in particular the next lifetime, will be very miserable. This is because law of cause effect is something and has its own the definite sort of the forces will takes you into experience your have experience according to your actions. So if you feel that this is something that's very it's kind of difficult to make yourself very convincing, then so what you can do is examine your life experience now here, because you know your life experience here on Earth in the present moment, right? And you don't need really a lot of apply or rely on a lot of justifications or the scripture authorities to convince you or to prove it, but rather you yourself know how the law of the cause and the effect is working, right? In the it has its how it's forceful, right? How it is its force can be experienced, and you know, and there is a force behind your action and its consequences. So if the law of cause and the effect works here, and you have no doubt about it, from physical world and to your mental and psychological and experiences, and then you know this can be just extended or keep going on to the extend to the next life, life after. So at this point, and we know that since the action which you have taken and will definitely bear the fruits. an action which you never committed will bear no fruits. An action that, since this is the rule, so therefore, when you reflect develop the appreciation of the law of cause and effect, and then reflect what have you done, or based upon your life experience here on earth, and so if you see that, and there are the forces of the law of cause and effect is applicable and or is there, is functioning, then and you also have to know that unless you do something and to damaging or to reducing or purifying the negative forces of negative karma, and then the result will be inevitable, and meaning that you have to experience it here on earth, either here on earth or in life after. So therefore, by developing the appreciations and the faith in the law of cause and effect, then you know that it is necessary as a spiritual practitioner. We have to practice the purification, or through various by adopting various techniques to purify the forces of negative karma. And because again, our understanding is that since we have we have done the karma, the karma has been committed, and the result will be to become a reality sooner or later. So that's why in the text we just read here example say, and because of this law of causality, and so when you think about what you have been through, like the negative experiences, the sufferings you went through, for example, crying. How many times you cried and you shedded the tears from the beginning last time and until now? So if the drop of the tear can be accumulated, accumulated and put it together, and the size of that the tear and can form the ocean, the size of the ocean, probably even greater. And similarly, and so when you think about the serious sufferings such as being hated, right? So suppose that they chopped somebody and for whatever reason and chopped off your head in the previous lifetime. We count those numbers and how many times that happens. Same negative, horrible things happen to you. So if you again pile up the number of the head that has been beheaded before, and the size of it can be as great as like the mountain mirror. So the point that they make this kind of analogy, or they give you such advice, is that because we have to know that the cause and the effect is a serious matter, and it's very forceful. And so we are here now, and obviously we have obtained something as a result of our commitments, the karmas that we have committed in previous lifetime. So we obtained, we received it, and here, and something we call a life, a human life. And so this human life, and is pretty much is kind of the result of a contaminated karma, or is the mixture, is a blended, the result that is blended. The causes of this result of human life which we have now is the blended one, meaning that So we do have the experience, the very decent and highly appreciate, valued the spiritual qualities, and at the same time, we also have a lot negative emotions or afflictive emotions, especially when you think about the three poisons. I mean, again, like we talked earlier, it's aversion and desire or attachment and ignorance. And the forces of for example, like attachment is just there. So we don't need to really refer to a lot of the sacred writings. Just based on our own experience, we know that our mind somehow at this stage, at the moment, and it just have that kind of forceful energy or forceful sort of intention, so we just have that kind of mind or forceful desire. Once we experience that forceful desire, find something that's kind of attached to, we are so attached to it, then it gives a force. It will immediately become a very forceful thing, and it's a sort of demanding, even command us and to execute it right on the spot, in accordance with that forceful sense of something that is beautiful, something that is very nice. So, but essentially, it's not really nice or beautiful, but it's that we are now and experience the forces of attachment itself. And our experience tells that when you find something is very nice and appealing, your mind, and unless you pay a close attention, and be able to transform that to very attachment. Otherwise, our mind is immediately and sort of force us to try to get it, right? And then try to hold on to it, right? And then try to possess that forever. That's of course the meaning that attachment give us a task which is impossible to complete or impossible to achieve. But yet, out of attachment, we would do it anyway. And then, of course, a result is a tremendous, immense amount of suffering we have to go through. And so, yes, reflect on and those points, and would help you to really cherish the life which you have now, or the opportunities and you obtained now. And so you would turn to say, oh yes, I do and have received possessing such a great leisures, freedom, and the wonderful opportunities. But this opportunity could be taken away from me. I could lose this opportunity any moment because the death it can be occurred at any moment. So therefore, I need to take any moment, every single given opportunity to dedicate myself to the practice of the Buddha Dharma. And it's, and to transform the negative, the afflictive emotions and then negative karmas and its seeds that I have accumulated is right now kind of the store and stored in my consciousness. I must do this by following the Dharma teaching, such as like 6 great perfections or 6 great perfections of wisdom. And so I definitely will not let this opportunity slip away, or the waste of the opportunities, the chances I have here. And again, so this is kind of simple, but you have to meditate on this very seriously, and you have to bring your attention to this kind of reflections over and over. For example, like the uncertainty, death is certain, but uncertainty of the death, and more than that, you also like the text just with read it. There's uncertainties of even just here in the world, in our day-to-day life. We know, first of all, not only the death, the lifespan of ourself on earth is uncertain, and our body itself also is uncertain in terms of how long you can maintain or how long you can keep it, right? You can possess it is uncertain. And furthermore, friends, families, for us is very, it concerns us. It's great, it matters a great deal to us. But again, there's no certainty in friendship. And further, and we know that the money or wealth has a greater value, but in terms of to possessing and to appreciate and enjoy, there's no certainty with how much you can accumulate, and especially how long you can keep it and how much you can enjoy, you can use it. There's no certainty at all. Then people love to be famous, want to be powerful, and they try very hard to seeking for some kind of social rankings and establish their social to gain some kind of prestigious social positions. But those positions first were hard to get. Once they obtained, it's also easily to lose. There's no certainty again. So, and you understand all this, and according to, based upon your own life experience, your own observation, and then you know that, like one of the things in the Buddhism we teach us is that knowing contentment. Okay, so to adopt the teachings of knowing contentment is become very important. Okay? Knowing contentment is also said that to know to know how to content, to know how to be content is actually says the superior wealth, or is the essence is the most the superior wealth that you can ever obtain. So therefore, knowing the contentment is really something and essential and very helpful. Yes, there are people who doesn't they make it working hard and make money and try to secure two things. First of all is their bodily safety or secure, and there's something that's at the body level, and further and make sure that they make the body and be able to live in the conditions where it's cozy and comfortable. And secondly, they also try very hard to make themselves mentally appreciate and enjoy the life better. And for that reason, and they work and they think that the only way and to secure to achieve these two goals, meaning the healthy body and the happy mind, they think is the only or absolutely depend upon the money, which of course, and we know that this is wrong, and that's not the case. Although the money is useful and it can be very helpful, but the health of the mind, the body, and the happiness of the mind is not merely 100% depend on the money, but it depends upon more something else, particularly spiritual practice. And there are people who are kind of wise, and they are very skillful, and they are smart, and then they know that even they may not have necessarily a spiritual form of a spiritual practice of belief, but they are skillful, they are smart, and then the form of life they lead, if you examine their life, observe how they're doing, those people are working hard and they're doing well, but then somehow they are naturally adopted this important advice or teachings of Buddhism, is that they are they somehow kind of suggest they know how to be content. Okay, so and they are very skillful in this regard. And for example, they don't put all their energies and time only on money, but they focus on the physical, like physically how to exercise and to take the physical exercise, and how to taking care of the family and to keep the family together, and how to put their kids and in a proper school and educate and train them and help them to receive a proper education and get to be trained in a skillful, become a skillful person. So they are doing well, and those people, and they do that is because they somehow know the technique or the essential teachings taught in the Buddhist scripture, that is to know how to be content. Okay, to know how to be content. They somehow can suggest they know this very fundamental teaching. And in a serious case, we know those people who never think seriously, and they do not adopt the teachings which we are discussing, we are studying now here. They also not take those smart people, but they believe themselves so strongly about their approach of the life is only through the money. So they end up with a lot of people, and not only they only want money, but they want a quick and easy way and to be rich and to be wealthy. And then they so the form of method or the way they try to make it achieve their goal is end up with selling the drugs and or doing all kinds of unlawful and criminal and things and try to be rich or try to achieve their the goal of life. Then at the end, it turns out they end up in jail and suffered them, not only themselves but their families and their friends as well. So anyway, and if all this is that we have to thinking and reflecting and what do we have learned so far, and we must apply it to our own individual circumstances. Otherwise, like I told before, it's going to be useless. It's just like you go to you went to doctor, and so you received a prescription. And now you have the prescription, and but you keep reading or hold that prescription in your hand. You do not take action. Of course, that's useless. So therefore, and we should not be the individuals like the person who went to doctor and received a prescription and then take no action. We must avoid this. And so we do have the measure or some kind of standardization or measurement, and to assess whether we are indeed making progress or we are practicing our how well we are apply and or implementing and the teachings we have heard. There's two ways. And you can assess yourself. You can examine how well the progress you be made. For example, first, and in the Buddhist scripture, it says that the sign of the successful hearing, the sign of a successful in the hearing, in the process of hearing, meaning learning the Dharma, is the the individual is become peaceful and very decent. So being a peaceful, become a peaceful and doing the things and decent. That is the first sign, or the sign of the success, and you done well, and in the course of the collecting the Dharma knowledge, okay? Because like here we are collecting the Dharma, the informations and of Buddha Dharma, and we try to develop the clear concepts and understanding about the Buddhist teaching. So if you your self-examination is sort of clearly tells you and that you become compared to prior to the Dharma, prior to you engaging in such a the Dharma teachings. If you find that now you are much more and peaceful, become much more peaceful person, and also you love your life and yourself is kind of a decent person you become, and you appreciate some kind of decency, and then that means your hearing is of the Buddha Dharma, and it has been very successful. And second sign, and to assess and whether your Dharma practice or meditation practice of the Buddha Dharma is being successful or not. According to the scripture, it says that the sign of the successful Dharma meditation is your afflictive emotions are now become dramatically reduced or become very weakened. So the sign of your afflictive motion is become much weaker and become smaller or being reduced. If you see such a sign or experience yourself by compare yourself and prior to you upon and hear the Buddha Dharma, and then after prior to the meditation on the Buddha Dharma, and then after your practice of Buddha Dharma, now you see that indeed your afflictive emotions are reduced and much less forceful, and then you must you can congratulate yourself, and so you know that your meditation practice of Buddha Dharma makes a huge progress. So anyway, the thinking, examining, and investigating, and do the self-examination, and try to see how well your implementation of the Buddha Dharma is the key to be to make the spiritual growth. And so. Yes, so our 3 poisons are there. We must see that those 3 poisons, right? The attachment, aversion, and the ignorance must from time to time, and it goes sort of is smaller and become weaker, so then. Yes, our focus has to be and examine how well we are doing and with this technique. In other words, so we must sort of our general tendency is that we just lead some kind of a life that is very random, and we are so much sort of accustomed to it, and we're so get used to it, and everything has become random. But here, after you learn the Buddha Dharma, and after you participate in such a spiritual practices, and this is such the one we are discussing about the training of the mind, you must always take something's opposite, okay, opposite to challenge your random, habitual, and the tendency or the lifestyle. 我呀，我老就把这我拿过来了。Okay, let's read the fourth and the fifth point. On page 38, the disadvantages of entering the womb over and over again. The same text says, the disadvantage of having to discard your body over and over again. The body assembled by each sentient being have to be discarded. If their bones did not rot, they would be greater than Mount Meru. The friendly letter says the heap of each sentient being's bones would equal or even be greater than Mount Meru. The disadvantages of entering the womb over and over again, the same text says, the earth would be insufficient to count the number of one's mothers, with pellets of soil the size of juniper berries. The commentary to the friendly letter quotes a sutra as follows. O bhikkhus, if a person were to take pellets of earth the size of juniper berries, saying, this is my mother, this is my mother's mother, and so forth, as he cast them aside, O bhikkhu, the soil of this great earth would soon be exhausted, but the series of that person's mothers would not. The disadvantages of continually changing from higher to lower. 因为头面说把对落是那样子的。Right. The friendly letter says, having been Shankara, worth of the world's veneration, one falls again to earth through the forces of action, or having been a universal monarchy, one again becomes a servant in cyclic existence. Having long experienced the pleasure of fondling the breast and the hips of celestial maidens, one undergoes the unbearable context of the crushing, cutting, and slashing operations in the hells. Think of how, following the pleasure of the world's yielding at the touch of your feet, while dwelling long on Mount Meru's peak, the unbearable suffering of the fire pit and the swamp of filth will strike again. Having frolicked in lovely pleasant maidens, wait on by celestial maidens, again your arms and legs, ears and nose are cut in the forest of trees with the leaves like a sword. After resting in gently flowing and streams on golden lotus with the beautiful celestial melons, again you fall into the unbearable caustic boiling water of the internal faultless river. Having attained the magnificent pleasure of celestial Rome, and even Brahma's bliss of detachment, again you undergo endless suffering. As a kindling for the fire of the hell without respite, when you have attained the states of sun and moon, the light of your body illuminates the entire world, but on returning to darkness again, not even your outstretched hand can be seen. The transmission of discipline says, the end of all accumulation is exhaustion. The end of being higher is to fall again, a fall low. The end of meeting is separation. The end of life is death. 타마운데 저기나
단디 농내 마시기메라 돌디우지나 노글롱터다 노알롱 사파긴기 타만적 토아긴기 타마통 차파긴기 타마전 소비 타만 초아인지네 다기 혼나데 공부 대신도 혼나 로차 자동라 다 검제 상로당근에 내 상로당 사피 타마 자고지네 저 가라 뭐만데 싹싹적이 베미트 참에 상데 베죠 당데 조 요마르서 니마치나 그런 정도 통보진의 배지 권이 전부 요르진의 이때라 작신진 수제어만 니마치었던 마항로 나 체제의 시기치라 체빙하고 시기치라 체빙 때나 잡아대 늦지 탐지만 담바지 늦지 탐지 시기치를 니니온 조롱진게 니온소 띵오 때라 때 샤와시 보이나 타마데 트렌도 파트로 또 솜바든 아주 미 겨와레시디 가와키거디나 겨와는 타마데 치와레 이제 또 니진다 하고는데 아주 랑진지 또 랑진이 바셈나 양지 삼도다 양지 삼도나 따뜻 되지그레데 스타다 개어마고 또 랑진 들어와 셈나 아주 땡큐와지 야긴 돈 시스템 아주 용거를 동원해 진짜 근용나 요로와다 로망도 그래 정글 체험 그래서 통계와 맞듯이든 언제 등을 뜻다 아주 랑진에서 예고도 시스템 랑진다 세 얘기와 되게 이동네 셈나가 참이 랑진 삼도가 또 랑진 띠용진 삼도는 때 마도 정아도 지금 통보진이 맞다 본이라서 호송났다 밑에 셈 교도촌 러시아 공부요로 가시에네 싸싸싸네 딱 농조 맡아봤지 타마테도 호크칼라 그마션로 잡비첸로 타마 소던 주션로 용거 어떤 성비 타만 자지네 다 차바데 가서 지질라다 가오니 오래 지금 파마 빈진데 책이로 차바데 차비치나 원이지나 타만 저와팅 이진데 체델라 카자요 치시마 신이 카자로 던데 소비 타마 치와이자 띵이 마다랑 영지 상동하나 삼저때 이진데 희송하이나 땅 가서 상동로 땅 가서 된데 싸우지는데 싸우기도 농조거리 수농조도 수조랑 게 되기 잔라라 팬동치 토와이 야고요리 소소 권이직 토와이나 권인데 나당아랑 요비다다 톱동들이 직제 요랬더니 소소랑 이 경우에 좀 종 춤동 틈바지니 잔라 칼 팬동치 타고 근데 니와 자식 같은 거 배줘 땅네 수 연대 지원의 gen지라데 연대 파트 토와지 심지탄들 팬동치고를 삼노동마이나 다 팬토와 때마다 똑같이는 이 농조 특별사 요만은 이마저 같은 차바드네 나도 찍찍라 차데 쪽으로 낭미레 빈친데 파마레 자창레 차바데 차비 디치나 소소다 데리 같이제 카트긴 하고 뭐 신들라 카트도 요 세실로 베텐트전이 실로요 대자 디 차비랑 때 찍찍라 냠데 데니랑데 찍찍라 전부 통보지 sem당네 제와지 찍찍라만 찍찍네 집이 양용지 토와이나 어때 대용지 잡아지네 어때 데리치네 디당 남바 탐치 때가 냠데 데트고 말이 니마지 카르로 카마티 바트니 프로포로 찍찍 잡아 통보지고 삼노트 키트만나 베 찍찍 조선 다 찍찍라 제스명 거 说明真的他妈是对家呢，你妈这是这的好过说呢，民族是那俺都这个是个是没用的，他妈是路我这个这个，那现在没知道的，咱们是一嘛，对西头呢，但洋人西头啊，对很注重的，对你种洋上路当，谁打的洋上路当呢，参加对我是哪的，让人的差多，让人的差说呢，我的第一么的说洋人知道，但刚刚的拆就没真的，的拆真的得怎么个要嘛，我的说是洋人的。当然，我们呢，对农村这边的农村这对俺养猪不是做个种的，比或者他这你这个什么，往下通过的马红松来的，当我们往下有头发的，必须有当有人俺了，让人他们是的这都，这个当的出一点啥的，你这农民当的这看个看这的，当因为你可能这个刚这边好不都不出这的，等你让的他们这边当是啥的，那没新来了的。希望对双边人在这来看不同不起的，看这边的这种的经济日子，对样子咱们当头呢，在是这盘头全部有了，对这的该得几十有呢，对了么个是该得几十呢，对了么个几盘，对样子咱们当时的对可能都蛮个这些。
All right. So we're not going to we don't have to. We don't need to go over each detail because what it teaches here is quite clear. But I would like to make a few comments on the transmission of discipline and that scripture. On page 40. So here, I think those 4 lines and make the point and which we have discussed is more meaningful and more relevant to us. So here it says that the end of all accumulation is exhaustion. The end of being higher is to fall low. The end of meeting is separation. The end of life is death. So this reflects the 4 absolute truth. The truth of a human condition, the truth of a human life. And so we need to meditate on this over and over. In other words, we need to have to contemplating, and these 4 points. See whether that really is the case, whether that is true. And so if you meditate on this and the 4 points, the 4 lines, and the 4 points each, and one by one. And for example, like at the end of the all accumulation is exhaustion. Is that the case, right? So in your meditation, you have to integrate it. You have to bring into your own life condition, your own experience, and to see whether that is the case. So you yourself has been working very hard and to accumulating, right, or investing. And various things in life, so far in your lifetime, and is that true? The end of it end up with some kind of exhaustion, right? End up with something that's just sort of vanished, and I'm sure that the experience is that yes, so the end of the accumulation. In many cases, that in our life, the investment you made and so the wealth you accumulated, it's keep sort of exhausting and or fade away. And also the second point is being higher is something that's favorable, right? But the ending result of this being higher is lower, and this particularly, true that when you're seeking for highest ranking or highest political or and some kind of social status, and in the normal, even forget about those dramatic unexpected the outcome, and you've been sort of achieved higher, and then been sort of lost the title or been fired, and so on and so forth. Even just in a normal case, that you've been someone highly repeatable, and people respect you, but at the end of your retirement, right, and then when you're ready, when you get hit the certain age or the limits, and then you will be have to offer the position, right? You have to leave the post, and then you no longer hold the title, and then so you will become someone just ordinary, and so that proves that being higher, and it surely will be end up with something for the law, and so. In the meeting, getting together, right, and see each other, and as living and together. So that's something we humans are, since we're a social animal, and we very much love to sort of programmed in such a way. That's our tendency, and that's how we want to be and live our life. But again, and here. In this particular case, it teaches us or remind us we have to know or keep in our mind that all forms of a meeting, either is a friendly meeting or the family meeting here means to form some kind of a relationship, like the relations at the family level, the relations at the friend level, and the relation with any form of a social classes or social, economical, and religious affiliations. So any form of relationship and the meeting, through the meeting or being together, it surely will end up with separation. Right? And so then the last thing again here is a point that the sort of highlighted is we start a life. Generally, we are so happy, and people when they receive the life, they celebrate it, right? When they receive families, for example, they receive a child, right, and they celebrate it. And then we also celebrate our life, and then by all kind of the events, right, to celebrate ourselves. It seems that to receive a life is a great thing. But we have to again take this advice from this particular verse, the last line and we have to remember that all the forms of life, the end is death. Right? So reflect on all these 4 points and make it as truly understand that is how the reality works. That's how the status of the human lives are, and so then you can normalize your experience of this exhaustion, right? Because we having this hard time to accept it. We are naturally would not accept the exhaustion and easily, but when you reflect upon, meditate on this accumulation is a form of accumulation will end up with exhaustion, right? When you meditate and successfully and truly see the point, then you can normalize it. Normalize meaning that when it's come to the end, right, come to the point of the exhaustion, you will take it so easy, and you will at ease, and you know that is right, and you know that's the way how this the material phenomenal world is working, how it's operating, and also like the seeking for the possessions, right? So you may seeking for the positions and from the spiritual point of view, and then from an altruistic point of view, and you do need seeking for the higher positions in order to benefit others. Once you received that position or achieved your goal, and received higher titles and or become someone in charge of an important entity or bodies of organization, then you must also reflect upon this very essential Dharma teaching. That means now you are entitled to hold that office, right? Working given, you've been given such an opportunity. Use that title and the position, and because this is your chance now to serve others, to help others, and to do something as spiritually meaningful and virtuous. Then, when you reach the end of that position, in the term, right, they reach the ending point of the term, and you will find that this is very normal. You find yourself is at ease. You are so content and so appreciate and enjoying and so yourself that I had such an opportunity. I be able to fully use it and took advantage of it, and I did my best. So over there, this loss or have to give away the higher position. And being higher will not be the problem for you, just because you understand this point and you meditate on this point very well. By contrast, there are people who never reflect on such a critical, important teachings, and then also never think about it. Then you may heard a lot of times people who lost their job, their titles, and their ranking. And then, in many cases, you would hear a story they even commit suicide, because for those people, their life is they made their life, the value of their life is identical with their possession. By forgetting or had no idea about that is the end with being a law or a failed law is natural. Something isn't by the nature. So, and similarly, and those people who are like they're forming a special, very intimate relationship, become the family members or lovers and married couples. So, if you reflect and meditate on this point again very seriously. And then while you are together, and that the time is very short, it's very valuable, it's very special. So you would take advantages truly and show your affection to that person and try to taking care of them and her, him, or and do your best. And when you reach the ending of what we call the separation here, either is separation like a normal separation, meaning that reach the end of the higher age, right? The separation being caused by death, or separation caused by some other normal events, then you would take it so easily, and you will take it accept it without being experiencing grieving yourself so much. And and then also, when you think about this gathering together, is also will end up quickly, and life is limited, and it gives you the reason to be tolerant and to be patient with your beloved ones, with your families, and with your any form of relationship you have with. Because after all, this is not going to last forever, but it's temporary, is formed, is conditioned in a certain way, and so if you reflect on this, it is true, right? And so therefore, you have the strength, you have the reason, wisdom, and to to be tolerant and to be patient about the events, the unfavorable experiences caused by that person. And actually, you would might have even the kindness and be kind to them. So. Yeah, all this are the very important and the thing that we needed to focus on and bring it into our meditation and the practice. Especially, we are a member of one way or another. It depends on the size of the families, but you are someone and belong to someone, the family, and some way the family members of a particular family. And so if you do meditate to these 4 points, and then you always say, "Oh, I did my best," right? And when somebody is dying, goes away before you, and you will say, "Oh, I have no regrets because I tried my best and I treated him or her or them well." And or when you reach the point of your own individual death, you also say, "Oh, I did my best. I treated them well, and I gave them my love to them, and but I tried my best." So you also will live very peacefully and without any regrets. And all this can happen because you understand this dharma or the nature of law, and when you meditate on this 4 points, the 4 points of the dharma of the nature, and the meaning that accumulation is it will end up with exhaustion, and so achieving or become someone's higher, and definitely will end up with a law, and so your only form of meetings and gatherings are the relationship that you forming, you appreciate it, and will end up with separations. And then lastly, the end of your life is definitely as the death. So yes, so you will take it that all this are as a nature of the law of nature, and so you will easily detach yourself from the desires. And so lastly, like Shantideva say, when you reflect on this critical teachings, and then you will always feels relief by the reciting the Shantideva's famous quote, say, "If there is a way to overcome the problem, and what's the use of being unhappy? And if there is a way, and if there's no way to fix the problem, what's the use of being unhappy?" And so, yes, looking and think of it this way, and looking and deeply in this kind of very deep and practical advice and teachings, and meditate on them, and would be very, very beneficial.
Okay.